Yes, hello, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Of course, it is another edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Of course, it is the 1st of June and winter has set in and, well, geez, we're feeling it too. And as I look around the room, Dale Thomas fading away to a shadow. Look at you, fitting as a fiddle. How are you today?
Yeah, no, look, I've got the Vicks inhaler here. A little bit congested I am.
Well, why are you here then?
No, because it's all good. I'm not contagious. What
You
is
know
it?
these days,
You're not what?
Contagious,
I
man.
don't know.
you've got a little sniffle, you stay away.
No, I've done my rat test. You know the industry we work in, Duck. I'm all well and good, just a little bit congested.
I'm more worried about the flu.
Thanks to my good friends at Vicks. No, this isn't sponsored.
Hello to you, Damo. Strange, you're in the casual wear today. Duck's the one with the suit on.
Well,
You going
Duck
to a
is
press- you
dressed
going
up to go to a
conference
meeting,
today?
isn't he? Yeah, I'm dressed down today and Duck's dressed up. So
Are you getting on another flight out of here, Duck?
What have you got on for
I'm
today?
out of here.
He's getting
What
on
have
a
you
flight.
got
I'm
on?
out of here. It's the first day of winter. Look at this.
It's shocking.
Have a look at this. Yeah, it's time. This is the time of the year when obviously the buys. We're coming into the buy rounds.
Yep.
And I think it's a great opportunity, not only for the players, when they have their buy, to get that 4 or 5 day break. And I know you boys, but I just quickly, I remember back to 96, and we obviously went on
96.
to win the grand final. Well, that's why it's prevalent, because we went on to win the flag, and Dennis, in his wisdom, sent us up to the Gold Coast for 4 or 5 days. It'd be fair to say that you probably don't want to do that with the whole...
Just a bit of R&R,
with the
just
whole group.
refresh.
It was R&R. Well,
Recovery?
We came back. We needed to recover when we got back. But went on to win the flag. And even though we went on to win the flag and he found out what went on up there and never again. I said, come on, we won the flag. So from that, never allowed us to do that ever again.
So, Daisy, for Richmond, St Kilda, Carlton, Essendon, have all got the bye this weekend, and then the Giants and Port Adelaide. And what advice would you have for those players with their little 4 days off, 4 or 5 days off they get now?
Get somewhere warm and somewhere that isn't really a footballing state. So try and hide as much as you can from all the prying
would you
eyes.
sneak overseas?
Carbo
even?
said Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get there pretty quickly.
No, I don't think the clubs would allow that. Obviously, at North Melbourne, you're not allowed to go to Adelaide to see your mum, so you're not allowed to go
Hey,
overseas.
Jimmy Bartell went to the NBA Finals one year at a mid-season
He won a
break.
Brownlow
I
and Dom
remember,
Smith.
we obviously had a bit of a loose-ish sort of crew, and I remember
No.
Mick Moldhouse sitting us down, I think it might have been 2011, before the break, and he said, righto, boys, you got your 4 days off coming up. Put your hand up if you think you're at risk, of maybe having a little bit of too much fun. So you look around the room and there's the usual suspects, Johnson.
It wouldn't be a hand down.
Johnson, Didak, Shaw.
Nick Maxwell was going with his hand down.
No, well, the funny thing was, Scotty Pendleton.
Oh, Pendles, yeah.
Scotty
Pendleton's
Pendleton's
put
got
his
his hand up in the front row, and we're sitting there going, geez, Pendles must have something on. He's going to rip in here. How good's this? Anyway, so what do you, Leo, I'm going to go away with so-and-so and so. They get to Pendles, say, what's up, mate? How are you at risk? He goes, I don't know, 4 days. I reckon I might be a chance to overtrain. The rest of us bloody fell off our seats.
It is amazing, isn't
Just
it?
two different
Yeah.
types of at risk there.
I remember speaking about 2009 when we won 19 straight St Kilda. Mid-season bye, we went to Airlie Beach. We went to the
whole-
backpackers
the whole
central.
group?
No, there was only
No.
6 of us.
Yeah.
And we went
Just-
to a foam party. Like, we had the best. Yeah, we've got photos going to a foam party where the nightclub gets filled in foam. And we've had the best 4 days of our life, come back and won our next 8 games.
All of
Like,
our buys
geez.
used to fall on the middle week of State of Origin. So I'd train Wednesday, be straight up to Brisbane for the State of Origin. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, State of Origin is this Wednesday night, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Next
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sorry, next Wednesday. So
It's a good time, though. It is a good time to get a little bit of, now that it's like this, a lot of the players will get away. They'll all get up.
But it's been raining more
Yeah, I know.
outside
Where-
Victoria
I know,
than
but
in Victoria this year.
I know, and I did say to someone today, we've had a pretty good run in Melbourne, haven't we? But it only has to last for 2 days like
It's
this.
turned.
And, you become very negative.
Might become a long winter. Hey, as always, though, there's plenty of footy news. We're going to take a look at the Daisy Duck Dive and, of course, preview the round 12 action. That's all still to come on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Midweek Rub. Damo, it's now time for some footy news.
Joey, the whole question around Nat Fyfe and how it looks for the remainder of this season, it's intriguing on so many levels. The fact that the Dockers have gone so well without him, which role he's going to play, and how he's going to come back into the team. And we got one of the answers last night, Duck, when Justin Longmuir on Channel 7 in Perth admitted that he would be playing this week in the WAFL. So I think that's interesting in itself. I mean, I'm a player, Duck, and you often say you don't let the good boys and the big boys, and you never went back to the VFL. But that in itself is, I feel, a very strong statement that Justin Longmuir is making, that we'll have you back when you're fully ready to come back.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I honestly can't. Playing a game in the WAFL, Nat Fyfe. I mean, I'd be parking him forward. I know we've said this. They're going well. I get it. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous. You do not
really?
put Nat Fyfe in the WAFL.
I'm with you, Duck. Ross Lyon still rings in my ears. You don't take the Ferrari out to the bush. I remember there was talk about Lenny Hayes coming back off an ACL injury, and Ross Lyon just shook his head. There's no way he's playing VFL football. We'll bring him straight in. I'm a bit surprised too that you couldn't even just park Fyfe
and he
full forward
he
for
looks
70%.
as fit as a fiddle, and they would not be bringing him back through the WAFL if he wasn't 100% fit.
Now, the club is
so
selling
if you
it
play in the
publicly.
WAFL, you can play in the AFL.
Yeah, the club is selling it publicly as Fyfe being part of, in fact, a key part of
sure
the
he
decision. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm a bit with you on it's not being his preferred option. But I think when it gets to it, the whole conversation about him playing as a forward last year, not liking it, and then publicly saying I'm back midfield, and then he got injured again. So we haven't yet seen that side of it and where he comes back in. But Justin Longmuir's got the complete control of this club at the moment because of the scoreline, and now he's got the two-time Brownlow medalist to come back.
Sit him in a pocket. Sit him in a forward pocket.
They do have Brisbane this week, though. So if you wait another week, you get Hawks the week after.
And then they've got the
on
bye
your
after
home
that.
patch.
Even more reason why you bring him in. I mean, 100%. If I tell you what, if I'm Chris Fagan, I'm sitting there going, oh, put him in the WAFL. Well, thank you. He's still someone, as soon as he jogs out onto that ground and parks himself in the forward 50, if you're Fagan, you're going, we have to give him attention.
And they probably have to put Starcevic on him or somewhat your
pure-
best defender, which allows someone else to run around.
100% out of pure respect. Fagan sitting there going, oh, thank you very much.
Justin Longmuir's comments were interesting, though, saying that he'll go back to the WAFL and he'll play in a manner that will help him come back into the AFL side. So reading between the lines, I'm thinking that's forward.
Forward, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, reading between the lines, there'll be 10,000 at the WAFL game this year.
It was at Peel Thunder.
Anyway,
Membership
watch
through the
this
roof.
space. I reckon they'll change their mind by the end of the week.
I don't see Justin Longmuir as being that sort of person, Doug. For what it's worth, I mean, he's so set in his ways and he's very methodical, and he's gone on national TV effectively and said he's going to stay.
The only advantage, Damo, is they're playing the long game now, Freo. They know they're going to play finals, so there's no need to rush him. They are playing the long game, thinking big picture, which is a positive.
It's a beautiful problem to have in that regard. The Bombers, I wanted to raise them because they've become a very reactionary club, haven't they? We saw what happened when they got criticised for failing to fly the flag when Parker had a crack at Shield. And that's been a bit better in the 2 weeks since, but they've still lost matches of footy. And then we've got the president, who's been on the board for 10 years, who's been president for 2 years. Inside 18 months, he's now called for a second review, conducted by the same three people who conducted the review 18 months ago, Kevin Sheedy, Sean Wellman, and Simon Madden. And then, after announcing that to his own members 2 nights ago, then spent 24 hours, effectively, days of mopping up the messaging through various media outlets to the point where this is not really a review, it's just a look into what we're doing. It's a mess, this football club, and they are reacting to what they feel they need to do in the eyes of their own supporters.
Nothing wrong with an internal review. The Blues chose to go down that path after a few things had gone wrong, and there'd been a couple of reviews and resets in that football club a few times in the years previous as well. So if you're going to do it, though, you may as well go through and take the old, the complete broom to it and see what you can uncover.
But the subsequent commentary after going
so
public, with it being a
said that,
full-scale review,
and now we'll just have a
all
little look.
positions are safe. The coach is safe, the recruiting manager is safe, the football boss is safe, and the CEO is safe. So
basically
you're
saying that all of those positions, from what, if you read through the lines, is they need support. That's how I read it.
Why then go public, though, Duck, with the review?
No, I totally agree. I think it's really unusual too that you got 3 Essendon people holding the review. I would have thought you'd go outside the square a little bit and get a different set of eyes and ears on what you're looking at, but they've chosen that way. So I agree. It's pretty much a nothing thing.
Do we know, Damo, would that include speaking to the players about what they feel has gone wrong? Is
they
that
will.
part of it?
They will.
That's always
you
interesting.
can't do any form of review without including the key parts of it, and ultimately it's to fix the part that is most broken, that being what they're dishing up on on a football field every single weekend.
Yeah, that's probably the big issue, really, isn't it? I mean, we think really they've recruited pretty well. I mean, and they've drafted pretty well, and it feels like there's some stability with the CEO and at board level. So really, it's just they're playing poorly.
Yeah. It is a review without having a review.
Yeah, it's to figure out why they're playing so poorly.
And I would have thought too, it's the onus on the board anyway to continually review without needing to make a song and dance and look down a camera and send it exclusively to your own members, which obviously then creates the drama around it. Tex Walker's an interesting one. Started the year really well, Duck, after the suspension that he'd had for the racist comments made last year. Interestingly enough, last Friday, Chris Dittmar, who does a very good radio show on Triple M with the board member of the Adelaide Crows, Mark Risciuto, had this to say, out of nowhere, about the former captain of the Crows.
There's a club, all I'll say is they're in the premiership window.
Who told you this?
The right
Tex.
person. No. Tex has been offered a 2-year contract because they need a big marking forward like him, they think, to get over the line. And
So Melbourne, Brisbane, Carlton don't need one. Freo, St Kilda don't really need one. Geelong don't need one. Sydney.
it's one of those.
So that was last Friday, and then before I get all your opinions, and we've all got them, let's listen to Tex himself, also on Triple M yesterday.
I'm pretty happy to. Well, number one is, do I want to stay in Adelaide? Yes, I do.
Right.
Is there a contract on the table at the moment? No, there's not. So certainly, like that's something that Dogger's going to have to negotiate for me, and I'm sure we'll get to an outcome sooner rather than later.
Dogger being Michael Dowdy, he's manager there. So, guys, far away with your take on all of that.
I really like Tex, and I think he's played some good footy this year, but there's no rush to re-sign him. You'd be waiting, if you were the Adelaide Footy Club, you'd be waiting. There's 11 weeks to go, Joey.
Yep.
So wait until, if Adelaide did want to re-sign him, you'd be waiting 6, 7, 8 weeks prior to doing that.
Agree with that. That's the Adelaide hat. But
Correct.
if you're Tex Walker in the Tex Walker camp, and Daisy, we've both been in this position where you're waiting and thinking, am I going to get another contract at this footy club? And there's silence, and you get to mid-year and you start thinking, if there is another offer from another club, at what point does Tex start considering looking at opportunities at another club?
Because I'd argue, just to quickly answer that, I'd argue that, Adelaide, if they don't re-sign, it's off the back of his second half of the year not being anywhere near as good as his first.
Is it?
Therefore, if they're...
I think it's a bigger picture than that, though.
Really based on his form?
It has to be based on your form. If he's not getting a kick in the second half of the year...
It's not going to be based on their rebuild, the young players they've got that are trying to develop with Phil Thorpe and Darcy Fogarty and Himmelberg.
I reckon if he has a really good second part of the year, then Adelaide say there's another year. And if he has a really good second part of the year, then there might be some other suitors. But if he doesn't, I reckon the other suitors drop off.
I'd be interested to know, and obviously we're not going to get this information, if it is from his manager where that little, because those where the sort of the discussions start, you get your manager just to put the feelers out, but apparently his manager, Dogger, doesn't sort of roll in those circles. So I'd be a little bit concerned if I was Tex and my manager hadn't floated the idea of it might be someone else, that maybe it's the Crows planting a seed that someone else is interested, so come the end of the year, it doesn't look so bad if they give you the Tijuana.
Do we read anything into it? Was
is that reading too far into
the
it?
Roo cameo in that, it was really interesting, wasn't it?
That was Amber Heard sort of style.
You boys love your conspiracy theories.
Interesting.
Hang on, let me reel off the
let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Do you think another club should consider offering Tex a 2-year deal to get him out of Adelaide right now?
Not right now. I wouldn't be offering it until I found out what he did for the second part of the year.
Yes. Do you think there's another club in the
if
comp
you
that would offer
think there's a chance to poach him and then he can make your side better, absolutely.
There's a fit for him.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, look, just without giving it a lot of thought, I mean, Fremantle could do with a forward. If the Fyfe move doesn't work forward, and didn't work last year as a forward, who knows? I'm not saying
Bulldogs.
that's where he's going to end up. The Bulldogs is a good example.
Someone to help out Josh Bruce coming back, of course.
Yeah, but you boys are forget, yes, he's had some really good games when he first came back. He's got to finish off this year well before you'd even be considering it. Anyway,
we'll see. Interesting. I'll talk about the Adelaide Crows in the Daisy Duck Dive because maybe there's something a bit behind the way they're playing and making it very hard for their forwards. Damo, what about the Blues? What's going on there?
Yeah, just wanted to quickly just get your opinions on what they need to do now to cover Weitering. We know that as we speak, they're expected to take a player out of the Sandford Durden who could come in and play a role. But let's face it, he's not going to change the fortune of this football club. He's going to help out the coverage. What do you do, guys? I mean, you're the real football scientist amongst us,
Yes.
Joey. What is it they do? Obviously, Plowman's there and Young is there, but they're going to have to do something else too, aren't they?
A little bit left field. Come with me here. We're seeing what Sam De Koning is doing at Geelong.
Yep.
Do the Blues bite the bullet and put Tom De Koning into the back line and find just a makeshift ruckman? They've got big Murkov, I think the big 210 centimetre.
That's the problem. Pitnet being out.
Yes.
I don't think it gives you that luxury to even
luxury.
consider that. But I
know,
hear what
and
you're
I'm
saying.
throwing one up.
Yeah.
Does Silvani go to the back?
I
Yeah, I
can't
think that's
believe
an
that
option.
there are two most valuable players who aren't there at the minute. Liam Jones, obviously, and I can't believe we're sort of saying that after his career that he had, and also Mitch McGovern.
Yeah.
What a great replacement he would have been. So both of those blokes injured. Worst case scenario, obviously, that Weitering went out. How do you patch it up?
That's what we're asking.
I don't know, Joey.
I'm thinking
you're
on the
thinking
run.
as
The
Okay.
deconing thing isn't a bad idea, and I think because of his athleticism and ability, he could probably do it. But it's not like for like. He doesn't play. He wouldn't.
No, of course not.
He doesn't play like Weitering.
No one does.
You know what I
really,
mean?
in
He's
that
not.
team.
He's not that pillar. He's not that Sam May type that Weitering
Yep.
is. So for me, you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
So
what do they
Plowman
do?
just has to step up.
I've
doesn't
given
he?
a suggestion. At least I've given an
Yeah,
offer,
well,
Dave.
yeah,
You haven't even given a suggestion yet.
Plowman's not a tall. Like he is not a
no,
big
but he's
tall.
going to have to be, isn't he?
Neither
I think.
Silvani. He plays
No.
taller than what he is.
I think
so-
Silvani's going to have to spend time there, and whether that means the whole game there, but Patches there. It's a really strange situation that
Maybe
Michael Voss finds
Silvani
himself
back,
in.
and then Jack Martin can come back into the forward line and sort
Jack's
of play
been doing so well. Once again, do you disrupt Jack? Because all of a sudden, I think Jack's
found a
finding.
spot.
he's
Okay,
finding
so
his
what's
spot.
Damo's asking? What
No,
else?
no,
can we
question.
do?
You're the experts.
Well,
Yeah.
the problem
Help
is
Michael Voss out.
they don't have one.
So just got to leave Lewis Young
They've just
to
gotta-
play on the number one key forward each team, and Plowman to play number two.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to come up. I think they're going to have to shuffle their system rather than the personnel as such. So try and get more blokes to come across and help out third
Remember,
off
we've
rather
got
than
the-
rely on
what
Weitering
pick
to
do
win
they
his
have in the-
one-on-one.
What pick do they have
Well,
in the
they'll
draft?
get Durden, but they're expected as we speak to get Durden, the former North player, to come into the mix. But he's been playing Sandford, Duck, and you can't expect him to change the fortunes. He can take a role.
Don't. Samfield's probably the second best comp in Australia.
Yes, Duck, but he's playing Sandford.
Yeah.
He's not Weitering.
Yeah. Oh, good conversation. I'm not sure you got the answer you're after,
No,
Damo, but it was,
couldn't
it's a
think of
very
one.
good.
Well, at least you threw someone up, Joey.
It's a good question. Let's see what they do, the Blues. That'll be fascinating. Hey, up next, this is the one that everyone wants to listen to. We're going to take a listen and have a look at the Daisy Duck Dive Quick Five. Righto, normally I hit you guys between the eyes straight up with a question. I've given you a chance to have a think about a couple of these, but this one you haven't. Duck, the Adelaide Crows, are they just slipping through the cracks a little bit with all the talk about North Melbourne, West Coast, Essendon, etc.? Because their last 5 games, they've lost by an average of 52 points, and they're only scoring an average of 60 points themselves in the last 5 weeks. Are they just getting by, swept under the carpet a little bit?
Yeah, probably. But it's like all interstate clubs. It's what we've done with West Coast and Adelaide now having their turn. I think they over-exceeded my expectations when they were playing some really solid footy earlier in the year. So for me, they've had a little bit of that and now probably slightly disappointing. So the balance has been up and down.
I think-
disappointing for me, yeah.
I think the last month you give them a little bit of an out for the quality of opposition. So they've played the Blues are in the top 4, top 8, Lions, St Kilda, and the Cats. Cats away.
Yep.
Are they 40-point on average worse off teams than them? I would say yes, so all things equal. So, and to the point of are they slipping through? Well, probably a little bit because the Essendon are going so poorly, the Kangaroos are going so poorly. There's plenty of other places to look.
Their turn might come in the next few weeks if they continue to get beaten by close to 10 goals. Hey, next question. It is the halfway mark, and a lot of people like to do their All-Australian teams at the halfway point. Have you both got a bit of a smoky, someone that not many people are talking about that should be, or by the end of the year, will be in the All-Australian team?
A bloke from Carlton, Patrick Cripps. He's recruit of the year, Will Brodie. I think the way that he's going about his football, Fremantle obviously finishing high up on the ladder. We know the higher you finish on the ladder, the more likelihood there is of getting more players into the team, averaging 28 disposals, contested possessions 13, which is elite from champion data, clearances in the elite factor, metres gained above average and 6 score involvements. It's a pretty compelling case.
It's a very good point, Daisy. Just let's not mention All-Australian squads because Duck doesn't believe in us.
Did you ever make the squad, Duck?
They didn't have squads back.
Did you make the team?
Just a few.
This
What about-
And we'd be a captain too, Duck, a few times.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah,
record for that. Sorry, what?
Smokey, yeah,
A
someone
Smokey,
that no one's really talking about that you've
I-
been really...
No, well, I tell you what, there's an abundance of small forwards right now. Now is McCarthy from Brisbane? Is he a Smokey as a small forward? I reckon his season is actually growing. Now we've got a heap. You know, there's Bolton and a heap of others as we know. But I just think he might be one that's just flying under the radar a little.
It'd be nice if they actually picked the side with a forward pocket as a forward pocket rather than getting another midfielder.
How many
and just,
genuine sort of forward pockets are there?
well, exactly. But
I'll
if you're
pick
the
one.
best forward pocket, Put him in the forward pocket.
They'll pick one, won't they?
They'll pick one and then
Yeah,
put a
which is not
midfielder on there.
Charlie Cameron, he's been up and down. There's been a lot of them that have shown us heaps.
Yep.
There's a little bit up and down. There's a couple of Gold Coast boys that have really started to
Anyone
shine
from you
through
boys?
as
I
well.
know it's a Daisy Duck dive. Anything off the top of your head, Damo?
I've become obsessed with Chad Warner. I know he's quite in that conversation just yet, but he's
good
got to
one.
be at some stage. And if you want to mount the case, I think his numbers stack up.
Yeah, I think if you're going to talk about pure wingmen, Ed Langdon's probably the obvious name, but I think there is Blake Acres and Daniel McKenzie at Fremantle and St Kilda that are both having huge impacts on how their team's travelling at the moment. If you want to have a specific All-Australian wingman on the other wing. Hey, next one. Who's currently Coach of the Year? This is another tricky
Longmuir.
one, but you've got Justin Longmuir, Brett Ratton, Stewie Dew, Craig McRae and Michael Voss. Who at the
Longmuir for
moment?
me.
You think Justin Longmuir?
Yep.
Yeah, I probably am tilting towards Craig McRae at the moment. I think Longmuir, I expected the Fremantle to take steps up and be in the 8.
You expected them to be where they are now.
I had them in my 8. I think if I send you a photo of my ladder I did pre-season, I
Where
think I
were
had
they?
them 4th.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
I can
The
send it to you.
Oracle.
I'll do it with me,
Jeez,
mate.
the Oracle.
And obviously, I expected the Blues to spike as well. So McRae, I honestly thought the Pies would bottom out, if anything, not be super competitive and play a really enjoyable brand to watch.
Good one. Simple one, this one. Who's going to win a game first, North Melbourne or the West Coast Eagles?
Ooh.
And you can say neither. If you
simple
want to.
one.
You can say
Do
neither.
they play each other?
I don't think so.
West Coast
I
will
think
beat
West-
Adelaide this weekend, so West Coast.
I think West Coast probably.
Okay, Daisy, I like it. A little teaser. And I'm actually, I'm half with you on that one. We'll
And
talk
when
about-
you're in these positions,
talk about
Joey,
that.
you have to have grand
I
finals.
like it. Hey, and then the last question. I know we've got two more. Mason Cox had a terrific game. He did play very, very well. Does he now hold his spot for the long term for the rest of the season as Collingwood push for finals, or do you think it was a little bit of a sort of high point?
I really
game?
like Cameron, by the way. I like the fact that he gives Cameron an ability to play forward. I think he's got really good hands. But you know what? And it was his best game for I don't know how long.
while.
Mason Cox. I thought he played really well. I just can't. I don't know. I just can't get my head around the goggles. I can't. Every time I look at him, I think Jack Nicholson's running around on the ground.
He's required to wear them, Duck.
I know, but I just can't get.
There is
I never
something
thought
about
I'd
them.
see the day where we had someone wearing sunnies on the ground.
I don't think he cemented a spot just on the back of one game, no.
Right. And the last
No,
one.
it's all on form.
Last one for the day is he duck dive. We're going to leave Melbourne and Brisbane out. We presume they'll play finals. But out of Fremantle, St Kilda, Carlton, Geelong, Sydney, Bulldogs, which is the top 8 right now, who's the most vulnerable to fall out of the top 8 by the end of the season?
I think there's still 3 vulnerable teams in the top 8, and Carlton for obvious reasons, which we've already spoken about.
You think
Because
they're vulnerable to at 8 and 3.
yeah,
You still think
I
they're a chance to miss?
I think they're vulnerable. If they get on a little bit of a slide, who knows? And some quality opposition. I think Sydney are a little bit vulnerable, and they've got a massive game on Saturday night, which is huge. Because of their within a game, they're so up and down. And the other one, the Bulldogs. I still think they're vulnerable. So I think there's 3 teams that, you know, if they don't get it right, if they don't string a few wins together, then all of a sudden the confidence goes down, and who knows what can happen.
And of course, you've still got Port Adelaide playing finals, so there's one
No,
team that'll
I
jump.
did not. I think I'm off that. I think they're too far back.
That's an early call, Duck.
I think
Don't give up just yet.
Yeah,
You never gave up on West Coast right up until the grand final last year.
They would want to, and I know they basically fell over the line in the end against the Bombers last week. You would want to see some improvement. They have to string 6 or 7 wins on the trot. Are they capable of it? Yes, but just my confidence in them is waning.
The answer's no.
I'm just thinking straight swap here, Western Bulldogs for Richmond. 9th goes in, 8th comes out.
Right. Okay. So the Dogs are still vulnerable.
Who do you think? Do you think anyone's vulnerable?
I think out of the team in the top 8, Sydney for me is the most vulnerable.
You don't think the others are?
No, I think the Bulldogs will play finals, and I'm pretty confident Geelong, Carlton, etc. will still play finals. So for me, it's Sydney Swans.
By the way, I didn't say they won't. I just said right now I think those sides are vulnerable.
I doubled down on the fact that at the start of the year I said the Bulldogs won't, so I'm just really honing in on Oracle
that's
areas.
What you did too. Very good. Hey, very good. Well done, boys. Good work. Hey, up next, we're going to take a look at the round 12 action and just have a look back at some of the big games from last week and who we tipped, because Duck takes his tipping very seriously. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Before we have a look at the games in round 12, let's take a look back, because there are a couple of 50-50 games that we had a view on, particularly the Sydney-Richmond game on Friday night that we know ended quite controversially. Friday night, Duck. Sydney v Richmond.
Richmond, my certainty.
I'm actually going to go against Duck on this one, and I'm prepared to say my certainty of the round is the Swans.
I'm going to go with the Swans as well.
I will probably tip Richmond, but with no real confidence.
Never in doubt.
Yeah.
Damo. Never in doubt. You just sit back and you just admire your own work sometimes, Duck.
Even when they were 33 down, it was never in doubt.
Even when Chad Warner put it into row 7.
No, there was something out there.
To be fair, it was what we expected, wasn't it? It was an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Very
Ripping
good game.
game.
Two good teams. And the other one, of course, was Collingwood Carlton. Daisy, I think the other boys sat on the fence. They didn't even have an opinion, but we certainly did.
It's going to be an absolute cracker. I think Carlton, just on form alone, will be winning. I hope it lives up to the hype. I really
think
do.
Carlton are my certainty. Yep, I've had a few Collingwood people text me. That's 2 weeks in a row I've tipped against Collingwood as my certainty. I had Fremantle the week before over in Perth and then Carlton. So Collingwood fans have
Certainly
reminded me.
lived up to the hype, though. What a game.
It was a great game. Great game of footy, but I've learnt my lesson. Collingwood are better than I thought, so I'm not going to tip against them as my certainty anyway in the future. But great game. And it does keep the Pies finals hopes alive. We spoke before about teams vulnerable. Collingwood do have a pretty good run, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Big game for them because they are playing Hawthorn at the MCG on Sunday. But Damo, which game do you want to take a look at?
I'm going to go with the first one of the abbreviated round with the buys in place, the Western Bulldogs Geelong game. And I've long had the view that if you're going to win a flag in any given year, you need to make a statement. I still think Geelong is in that conversation. I think this will be their statement game in 2022 and that they will beat the Western Bulldogs. And I'm going to declare, Joey, for round 12 on this show, my certainty of the round.
Love it, Damo.
Yeah, I'm going to go against you. I think.
It was dangerous for you last week, Duck, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, I think. I'm going to go. I think the Bulldogs can beat the Cats because of where it's being played.
I'll be tipping the Cats in that one.
I'm very surprised the Western Bulldogs are favourites in this one, and then short price favourites at that. Pronounced favourites. Oh, I'm with you. I think Geelong. I like the Cats. I know Marvel will suit Bulldogs, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Dogs win. But Geelong, I think, as with Damo, can have a tilt at top 4 and a crack at a flag. So I'm going to tip Geelong as well.
I'm prepared to say, and I'm prepared to say Melbourne will beat Sydney.
No,
that's my.
Their first loss.
You get real down on yourself really quickly when you get one wrong, don't you?
Sydney have been very good. I'll tell you why I'm tipping Melbourne, because of you look out the window here right now, and we've got some wet weather, and it's going to be around all week.
How's it going? We've got a lion in the zoo at wherever.
No.
Sydney coming down from the wet. They've been in the wet for 6 months up in Sydney.
The surge style football that Melbourne play and the way they play, the non-fuss. Sydney try to come back through and the chip and the control through the corridor and all that. I just don't think they'll get any of that if the conditions are like that. So I think Melbourne.
Yeah, I think we all agree Melbourne will win that one. So that wasn't really
probably
going out. It
not
wasn't really going out on a limb.
And I think Hawthorn will upset Collingwood. There you go.
Good. I like that. Even after the way they played last week, the Hawks.
They do
coming back
respond.
from Darwin, is there no theory coming back from Darwin?
You watch Hawthorn. The one thing that Sam Mitchell has got them doing, they respond after a bad performance, and I think they'll respond. St
Kilda was the game in round 4. They got beaten by almost 10 goals, came out the week after and beat the Cats. Yep. So they do respond. However, I'll be tipping the Pies in that one. Do you want my certainty?
Yeah.
West Coast will beat Adelaide. There you go.
West Coast
will
as
beat Adelaide
certainty?
as my certainty.
Oh, this will be the bravest call of the year.
Yep. Well, I put them on the line from time to time, Damo. I think that they have to find something. They're nowhere near about a football club as they are going at the moment. This is their grand final. If you look forward to the coming weeks, if they can't win this, I don't know when they play North Melbourne, but...
You're braver than me. I was going to tip West Coast as my Smoky. I do think they are a bit of an outside chance. We just spoke earlier about Adelaide's form. Adelaide aren't going that well at all. McGovern's the big one. I need to know any update, Dame. Is McGovern going to play? Do we know what he went off with the injury?
I'd be lying if I said I've checked it out, Joe.
I spoke to him before he's in.
Daisy. I think West Coast are a bit of an outside chance here. I'm not as game as you, but we'll see.
And I also think Fremantle will beat Brisbane.
Yes, that's the other one. Fremantle, Brisbane, Sunday twilight up in Perth, or over in Perth.
Well, they're pretty short price favourites, Duck. I don't think that's a big statement.
1 second on the ladder, Dave, mate. What are you talking about?
Very short price favourite.
Well, I'm going to
tip Brisbane in that one.
Well, so what are you talking? What are you talking about? I'm going with Fremantle.
Yeah, just taking the favourite option every time, Duck.
Oh, come on.
I'm tipping Fremantle as well, for what it's worth.
I'm going to also tip Fremantle.
Oh, I'm on my own there.
Despite no Fyfe, we think. Yeah. What about Gold Coast, North Melbourne, up in Darwin? Any chance, North Melbourne? If Daisy thinks West Coast can beat Adelaide, can North Melbourne beat Gold Coast?
Is it in Darwin?
Yes.
No, No.
They were
I still
very
think-
good up there, Gold Coast on the weekend.
Only-
Daily conditions awesome.
And they've spent the whole week
Yeah.
there.
Only if they get bitten by a jellyfish or something. Half the team. I know, sorry. No,
What,
but
in Darwin?
I don't know.
It's getting bitten by a crocodile.
Yeah.
And that's not ideal.
Very good. Hey, good work, good show again, Daisy. Keep going with that exercise. You're looking
Actually, you
magnificent.
don't get bitten by a jelly, you get stung by a jelly.
Do they have them in the zoos up there, Duck?
Duck, you go to one of your other business meetings or something that you claim you have to go to. Damo, thank you as always for bringing the content. Hey, this has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Of course, it's also exclusive on the Listener app. And don't forget, you can listen to every game across round 12 this weekend on Triple M, starting with the Friday Huddle Boys, Das Chief, Howie, Brownie, Damo, ahead of a big clash between the Western Bulldogs and Geelong. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.